at Google and talk about your kind of what was going through your head at that point. Were you starting to come up with? Were you starting to brainstorm ideas? Did you have one particular idea in mind? Were you just kind of getting a bug to do something more? What happened?
Yeah, so I'd always had like all kinds of things that I wanted to make someday. And I think the one thing that was frustrating for me was I didn't have an engineering background, and at Google it's just really hard to work on product without an engineering background. And that's not by any fault of theirs. I mean, they have sort of an embarrassment of riches. They have like so many brilliant engineers that you don't need to give a flyer to like a political science major who came from a consulting firm. It'd be ridiculous, right? So I think part of it was it's almost the feeling that you're so close to this thing that you really want to do, but you're not really doing it necessarily in the way that you want to do it. And then the other thing was that my girlfriend at the time, like now my wife, we moved out together. I had met her in DC at this consulting firm. She also just at one point just called me out. She's like, you always talk about wanting to do a startup. Now we're in California, right? Like, I support you. All your friends are doing startups. And then she was kind of like, you should either do it or just stop talking about it. And I don't know. I mean, I'm really also fortunate for that. Like, she was like, what's stopping you?
She pushed you to do it.
Yeah, she's just like, either do it or like seriously, like, shut up about it. And sometimes I think you need someone to give you a little bit of a push.
Yeah. And so you did you leave Google with an idea in mind, or did you leave like, hey, I'm gonna just jump and grab a parachute on my way down, or what was it?
So I just sort of left, and it was actually terrible timing. Objectively, it was 2008, but before Bear Stearns had come apart. And I worked on a bunch of things. You know, I worked with some friends at Stanford. Actually, ended up being back in a biology lab. It was really funny because I just didn't want to be like alone, and that was a really great experience. And then I hooked up with a buddy of mine from college who was living in New York at the time. His name is Paul, and we were working on an iPhone application together.
This is 2008.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I definitely didn't have like a fully baked plan. Just sort of like hit the ground running.
Yeah, and you kind of like, you guys were everywhere, right? It like you're saying, like you worked in different offices or coffee shops, or you'd said to me earlier, like you've worked or done work in so many different places. It was, I mean, probably no different than a lot of people in this room, you know, just kind of trying to figure out what you're going to do and maybe not having a specific direction at the moment. Or at what point did you start to did the idea for Pinterest start to really come together for you?
Yeah, so I mean, not working yet. We worked wherever, right? Like, you work in your living room for a while. At the time, Paul was in New York, so I was like basically alone. And I work at coffee shops. I worked at like the Hacker Dojo. I've been to every coffee shop. I remember I opened my computer. I was having trouble getting on a network. It had all my old network keys, and it's like the wireless network key to every single coffee shop between like Mountain View and San Francisco. So we had been working this iPhone app, and basically we couldn't really ship anything that was that high quality. And at some point, I had this other idea for a site built around collections because I was a big collector as a kid, and just decided to start working on it. And I was at the time flying back and forth to New York and hooked up with another one of my friends, Evan, who is a graduate student in architecture actually, and we just both got really excited about the idea. We just decided to sort of take a run at it.